The other big story we're tracking here on Gravitas is the Qatari crisis. Saudi Arabia has now accused Qatar of backing terrorist groups, but the Saudis are accused of backing the Islamic State. Clearly, there's much more to the current Saudi blockade than terrorism. It could be more about competing commercial and strategic interests. Take a look.
A complex game is underway in the Gulf. A game driven by competing strategic and commercial interests, one that has seen Saudi Arabia, which is known to covertly support terror groups like the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, accuse the gas-rich Emirate of Qatar of supporting terrorism. Now, a little over 1 week after imposing the blockade, the Saudis appear to be backing off.
There is no blockade of Qatar. Qatar is free to go. The ports are open, the airports are open. What we have done is we have denied them use of our airspace, and this is our sovereign right. The limitation on the use of Saudi airspace is only limited to Qatari Airways or Qatari-owned aircraft, not anybody else. The seaports of Qatar are open. There is no blockade on them.
The changed Saudi stance may have more to do with feelers sent out by Qatar. Perhaps indications it will tone down its backing of terror groups like the Muslim Brotherhood. In fact, the pundits believe the Qataris will offer some sops to the Saudis on the Muslim Brotherhood, even Hamas, and be more circumspect about its relations with Shia Iran.
Sir, it's a very complex situation. You know, each of those countries manifests its own trajectory of forward progress. I would tell you that there is common ground, and that is something President Trump was attempting to generate and reinforce with the trip that we recently witnessed.
But that still leaves the Americans who, with their shale gas, see Qatar's domination of the gas trade as affecting their commercial interests. Qatar, therefore, must be limited in its ability to influence the price of gas and use its revenues to play politics. Another player is Turkey's President Erdogan, who has sent troops to defend Qatar. He is upset with Saudi Arabia, which he suspects paid for the coup attempt against him last July. Clearly, in Arab politics, it is not just Sunni Arabs versus Persian Shias. It is also Sunni Arabs versus other Sunni Arabs. Bureau Report, WION.
All right, we're going to be talking more about this. Ambassador R. Dayakar is a former Joint Secretary of the Gulf Desk at the Ministry of External Affairs. He joins us live from New Delhi. Taha Siddiqui, WION's Bureau Chief in Pakistan, is also live with us. Well, Taha, if I can start with you and then we'll get into the deeper discussion. What does Pakistan stand on the Qatar crisis?
Well, currently Pakistan is standing neutral. It has not taken any side. Basically, the Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has gone to Saudi Arabia to meet with the Saudi family to sort of, and the impression that we're getting here from the Foreign Office is that they're trying to sort of mediate between the two countries. So right now, from what we understand, the Pakistani side and the Pakistani Prime Minister, he hasn't taken any side, and the Foreign Office is also saying similar things, that this is basically within the Qatar and the Saudi government, they're not taking any sides.
Okay, Taha, do stand by. I'm going to come back to you and talk more about Pakistan and Qatar and its link to Qatar right now with the Nawaz Sharif's visit. But Ambassador Dayakar, how do you see the big picture in this Saudi-Qatar fracture as of now?
For one thing, this gone beyond the region. Until now, the crises were handled by the regional players. But this time, the extra-regional players are taking active interest because the implications are deeper. So, for instance, Russia has called for some political solution, and quite a few others have called. So, as someone has just now said, the situation is complex. So, it will take some time, because the Saudi side has not spelled out what are their minimum objectives, what is the needed for a closure, to bring a closure to the crisis. So they have not spelled out. There's a lot of speculation ranging from controlling Al Jazeera TV and also severing or reducing the relations with Iran,
right,
confining them to purely commercial, and so on and so on. A lot of speculation. But no one knows because Saudis have not spelled out. And now the terrorism is a very serious charge.
Right. But both Saudi and Qatar, the point is, are
Qatar has
accused of backing terror groups. That's also a fact, sir.
You know, there has been, the Iraqi Prime Minister has just said that the hundreds of millions of dollars are lying with them. They don't know to whom to disburse because it was given to get their release, the Qatari nationals, including royal family members. And earlier, Qatar has hosted Hamas, Taliban, and even Chechen rebels.
Right.
So, although they have not encouraged, there has been some indications that there had been in liaison hobnobbing. There has to be such a, Gulf Cooperation Council needs close consultations among its members on security issues.
Right.
Qatar does not seem to have done that so. Although a member of, and it's also a member of Islamic Military Alliance to fight terrorism, a very active member. There also, I think, it has to play its responsible role.
But sir, I get your point, but let me just come in at this point. Do you think, as we talked about in our report, the situation that is unfolding, it's not just about terrorism? I mean, Qatar, its GDP is strong. Economically, it needs no help. It dominates the LNG market, controls the revenues. Do you think Saudis are miffed? I mean, I was just reading a report about how Qatar is now ready to airlift 4,000 cows to meet the milk requirements right now in Qatar.
The core issue is still the sectarian, geopolitical, and the terror issues. This LNG gas and other related commercial things, they are secondary. They are derivatives from the core issue. Once the core issue is addressed, I think these derivatives will get into background as they were. So I don't think they are really the primary concerns of the gas supplies and gas market share or pricing.
Right. All right, Taha, two quick questions to you and then I'll let you go. What is the significance of Nawaz Sharif's latest visit, if you can put things into perspective for our viewers here?
Well, from what we understand, the visit is concerned with the fact that basically because right now Pakistan does not want to take sides, and it's also linked with Qatar as much as the economy is linked with Saudi Arabia, in the sense that we do know that Qatari government and the royal family, for example, has come to the help of Pakistani Prime Minister with regards to the Panama case, with regards to providing letters of saying that the Qatari government, the Qatari royal family has been helping his family from long time ago for almost two decades now. So given that, and then we also know that the Saudis have very close ties to the Pakistani Prime Minister, and the fact that when he was in exile, he was living in Saudi Arabia. So basically right now, the influence that and the connections that Pakistani Prime Minister, the personal connections he has with the Qatari royal family and with the Saudi royal family, he's trying to use those to try to bring both sides together, to try to sort of end this impasse that we're seeing and end this conflict. And he's trying to play a role, but how successful he would be in doing so, that's still debatable. And there has been a lot of criticism in Pakistan saying that he should rather stay away from this conflict because we've seen that earlier on also with Saudi and Iran conflict. Pakistan tried to take a side with the Saudi side. So there has been a lot of criticism that they should not get involved in the Gulf crisis or the sectarian crisis in the Gulf countries.
Right. Taha, very quickly also, we do know the Panama leaks and the Qatari angle to those investigations as well. But you are talking about whether, the Prime Minister is facing a backlash as far as engaging or meddling in this crisis itself is concerned. But very quickly, for our viewers, you can touch upon 2 or 3 pointers that bring about the relations or the ties that Pakistan has with Qatar.
Well, when this whole Panama thing spanned out and when it hit the news, at that time, the Pakistani Prime Minister, who's supposed to even present himself on Thursday, he's supposed to go in front of the joint investigation team that is investigating him and his family. So earlier on at the Supreme Court, when they had to prove their money trail as to where they got the money, where they got these factories from, which is the Pakistani Prime Minister and his family, they produced a letter from the Qatari royal family saying that they had given this money as a gift to the Pakistani Prime Minister's family back in the day. So Nawaz Sharif's father received this money to set up, businesses in Qatar when he was living over there. So given all of that, they enjoy very close business relations with each other also.
All right, Taha, thanks so much for joining us there and sharing inputs with our viewers here as far as Pakistan's role or connection with Qatar is concerned. But Ambassador Dayakar, staying with you, talking about the Indian angle as far as this crisis is concerned, from the business point of view, India being the biggest LNG customers from Qatar, the commitment to renewable energy is also there. So the market there is going to ever expand because the demand for gas will increase over there. Then there's also the human angle. So many Indians in Qatar. So there are two crucial aspects that India has to keep in mind as the crisis unfolds, isn't it?
Yes, you are right. The Indians, there are about 650,000 at my last count, but their safety and security and well-being are not in question. The immediate concern is one of the food, water and other essentials which are available in plenty, and Qatar has enough money to buy from anywhere. Of course, at a financial cost, there will be inflation and so on, medicines and hospitals. So that is not an issue, but there is always a psychological problem, pressure. And I think our embassy is taking care of those concerns. They have advised the Indian community to stay calm and cool. Our foreign minister has spoken about that. So there is no worry on that count. Regarding gas supplies, LNG has, there is no interruption to Qatar gas supplies because even UAE and Egypt, the people who are behind this attempted isolation, they are also buying Qatari gas. So I don't think LNG will be interrupted. In any case, there is no physical hurdle in shipping LNG to India. It's a straight Bay of Arabian Sea connects, and there is no hurdle
Point
there.
taken, sir.
So I don't think there is any will be disruption.
Last point, but nevertheless, would you agree that India now has to tread cautiously as far as this crisis is concerned and where it goes? Because certainly it's going to not end anytime soon because there is a risk of getting caught between the Shia-Sunni, conflict. And now, as we talked about in our report, it's increasingly an Arab-Sunni versus Arab-Sunni conflict as we're seeing it unfold.
As I said, there is a sectarian dimension to this in the larger perspective. But Qatar is not supporting any particular Shia groups in the Gulf. It is only, I think it's perceived to be a little closer to Iran than any other Gulf GCC member. And there is some compulsion for that. They share a gas field. It's a neighbor. And also the stature of Iran in the region requires a certain kind of approach. So Qatar has that kind of perspective.
Absolutely.
Mind you, they don't have a Shia
Ambassador
population.
Dayakar, as you pointed out, it is indeed a very complex scenario. A lot of stakes there of various players in the Persian Gulf. We'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining us there and sharing your thoughts with our viewers. With that, it's a wrap here on this edition of Gravitas. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is me, Sana Khan, signing off.